You're listening to the Love Your Neighbor podcast.
Well, I just want to say welcome. Thank you for joining us on the Links Podcast. The Links Podcast this season is brought to you by BrandonWellness.com. If you live in the Brandon area, I want to encourage you to go to BrandonWellness.com. Go ahead, you can connect securely giving to our dream and our vision of building a community wellness center. We really believe that community is built one conversation at a time. That's why we do the Links Podcast. And today we have a unique privilege of having the one and the only Richard Gordon, pastor, celebrity pastor at Living Springs Church, because of all of the celebrities that attend your church. I mean, I think of some of the celebrities I know that go there. I mean,
my wife's there.
Yes. Aaron Hansen is there.
He is. There's two Aaron Hansens in town, so now you might really confuse
when we get Aaron
everybody.
Hansen on here, I won't be able to say the one and the only because
there's two of them.
There are two of them.
Yeah. Do you know them both?
I do.
Well, so do I.
It was amazing. We met that time that we met. I was like, oh, I know Aaron Hansen. You're not the Aaron Hansen I know.
That's true. We did have that discussion. That's funny.
So think about that. Literally, Brandon is big enough for two
Aaron Hansens. Yeah, that is phenomenal.
And I learned something today as well. Our friend,
I heard you had a friend.
Yeah,
our friend. Yeah, my friend too.
Our friend Jim Steen.
Yes, I know him.
I said the one, the only, and he immediately corrected me.
There's more than one?
And told me that he went to high school with a Jim Steen.
Get out of here. That's funny.
I'm like, really? And he goes, yep. And his counterpart, Jim Steen, his family is the Steens that the town of Steen, Minnesota was named after.
I know Steen, Iowa or Minnesota?
Minnesota,
yeah. But the sign's in Iowa that I remember.
Well, and it was just, I mean, so when I say that this is a privilege, it is, because anybody with two first names is somebody I gotta like.
Richard Gordon. Got it. I caught. Okay, I was wondering what we're all leading up to here.
Because it was, I mean, I remember when we first met, I was like, Richard or Gordon? Like, and I called you. I was like, hey, what's up,
People
Gordon?
always call me Gordon. I mean, it's just.
They do.
Then it's Richard Gordon. Yeah.
And so I apologize. I mean, already. But you probably, some of you watching, most of you probably know Richard Gordon. But for those of you that don't, Richard Gordon, tell us a little bit about you, yourself.
How far back? I'm going to make it all up.
Let's go.
Where do you want me to start?
Well, let's go all the way back. I mean, what makes you you? What makes you tick? How do you?
Okay, well, I'll do a quick flyby. How's that?
That's good.
Okay, so let's see. I was born in California. Briefly, went to kindergarten there. I remember it well, the Golden Hills, Mount Pleasant Elementary.
Mount Pleasant? Where is that for those of us that are?
San Jose.
San Jose.
Yeah. And my dad took a job transfer to Spokane, which I'm talking about in my sermon this week, coincidentally. Okay. And then we moved to Seattle. I was in the Seattle area for most of my life and met my wife there, went to school there, had my kids there. And then I became ordained, so I found a job in Iowa. I was there for 5 years, and now I'm in South Dakota.
Yes.
In Brandon, Living Springs, and thrilled to be here. Very much so, actually.
So pastoral ministry was a second career for you.
It was. I was a community college instructor for just about 20 years. I was. My parents published cookbooks growing up, and so I eventually ran that business for our family, and we sold it when the college recruited me to teach printing at the community college, and that was fun. I saw a lot of technology change, too.
Sure,
over this 20. That was before computers were involved in the printing process. And I used to think, I looked at the accountants and thought, man, I wish I could bring that computer power into our printing class. And we did, especially on the design side, but also on the press room side too.
So in a way, I mean, Seattle is kind of a tech hub-ish.
It's a hub, yeah. Yeah, very much so.
So you were in an old industry in a new hotbed. And you've seen some things happen.
Drastically changed. Yeah. It was just a drastic transformation.
So are you Microsoft or are you Apple guy?
Well, I have lived both worlds.
Okay.
And I really like Apple, though. Apple's just hard to beat. A little simpler, a little more intuitive, especially the phones. Okay. So But I have background. My son worked for a major cell phone manufacturer for many years.
Okay.
So, yeah, I went like 10 years, didn't have to buy a cell phone. I always had these experimental things.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that
sure,
was fun.
Sure. Well, that's interesting. So then how, like, married, still married?
Well, and just so I was married, had 2 kids, and my wife left me and the kids, and I found myself single. I was a single dad for almost 7 years, and that was educational. Oh, man, so much energy, and the kids were with me 24/7. And so it was, I used to teach a single parents class. I remember one gal came up to me and said, "You don't know how hard it is." And I was able to say, well, actually, I do.
You do.
I had an 18-month-old baby when that started.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and a girl, and she had hair, and she eventually would wear dresses and stuff. That's really hard to relate to for a guy.
Yeah.
At least for this guy. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was just suffering in life, and then my wife found me, rescued me, took over the kitchen, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And we're just getting to know each other, actually. Well, that's about 35 years ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So there's a story there.
There's a bunch of stories.
So this may be a on-ramp to another conversation. Here's me, and I do this for a living. I talk to people, and I make assumptions, right? That's what I do.
Yeah.
And here I am talking with you, and I made an assumption, and I did not know that. And
I had another close friend that's been with me for a couple of years now, and he came and heard me preach, and I happened to just mention it briefly.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I had no idea you were a single parent. Oh, yeah, I sure was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My education has come in many forms. Once in a while, I'd go to a classroom, but most of the time is life.
So you've come to a place now where you've obviously moved beyond that.
Oh, yeah.
What was key in that? So that was maybe a challenge in some ways, you'd call it?
Oh.
Potentially? I would consider
For
that.
me, that was, a huge challenge.
What was key in you moving past that? How did you kind of move beyond that?
Well, and I will say the blended family issue that then you have when you remarry and you have blended family issues.
Yeah.
Oh, that was challenging too. And I have great kids. I mean, they both love the Lord. They're hardworking people. And it was just really, really hard. And I appreciate my wife putting up with me for all that time through all that. But I think we all learned. It was educational for all of us. But it's, well, now we enjoy it. We have 4 grandkids. The oldest one just going to college for the first time this fall.
Okay.
And the youngest one just became a teenager.
So when you're not pastoring, when you're not, flipping through cookbooks, and when you're not grandkidding around, and of course
I do like grandkidding too. That's very fun.
Yeah, and when you're not in the the wonderful embrace of your wife, what keeps you out of trouble besides those things?
Well, my wife does for sure. She's like, front lines, behave.
Good.
So I do my best to live up to that. My life at the church is just so blessed at Living Springs. Yeah. I mean, church is a dynamic thing. It's very, very dynamic. And I started out as a pastor at one of 15 pastors at a church of 3,000. Mm-hmm. That was educational. See, I get to all this education. Yeah. And so lots of stuff to fill up sermons, which are fun.
Yeah.
And then I had grown up in a covenant church, which is a Swedish immigrant denomination. And the superintendent of pastors invited me to come back at a certain point into the covenant, and I became ordained there. And then when I was ordained, I thought, hey, I could be the senior pastor of a church. So I went to a little country church of about 30 to 50 people, and now I'm at Living Springs, and which is it's a young church with a lot of families. In fact, they never had a seniors gathering. So since we have so many kids and younger families, that's kind of been the focus. And I started a seniors group. So we have a hymn sing every other Thursday and a little devotional. And we do that just so we can hang out together and sing hymns, because we don't normally do that in the church.
Thursdays?
On Thursday afternoons, yeah.
Thursday afternoons. Oh, cool.
So, you could come. You're almost only. You have gray hair. It would work. I think so.
I love hymns.
Yeah, it is.
That's great. Well, I didn't know that. That's excellent. I'm curious to know, because California, Seattle area, now South Dakota.
Yeah.
What have you come to appreciate about this area of the country?
Everything. I love Middle Earth. It is so great. I mean, just you talk about salt of the earth people.
Yeah.
It's true. They're just people that are hardworking, true, honest.
Yeah.
It's just a different world. It's totally different. Our first winter here, I think we had 25 below. I had never in my life experienced 25 below. And we had a little farmhouse we were living in for a couple months. And I remember walking room for room with a heater plugged in at my side. You know, it was a whole new world. I've since come to really enjoy the seasons because in Seattle you have wet and wetter.
Yeah.
We do have a whole bunch of Seattle jokes, I can say. But,
well, I don't think anybody's listening from Seattle.
I'm sure they're not.
And as you know, South Dakota people we don't care. Seattle.
That is true. That is true.
You know, I mean,
I do, but I don't know if it's the farming culture or it's just the hardworking attitude people have. The traffic jams, although they're fierce by Sioux Falls standards, they're wonderful. And we were like 20 minutes away from anything in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
I was talking with another West Coast, California, Washington guest recently who's made the exact same trek from Southern California to Washington.
Well, you probably know each other. There's only 3 or 4 people back there.
Well, and they were talking about, hopefully like what would be some of the things you'd want to bring. And we talked about Trader Joe's.
Oh, yeah. Trader Joe's is good.
So we're starting a Facebook group called South Dakotans for Trader Joe.
You were big on that, aren't you? I mean, grabbing momentum and running.
Well, I was thinking about it and I was like, we've got this new I-90 Plaza and what does South Dakota not have that we could have?
A Trader Joe's. That's a great idea.
Well, I mean, why not?
I agree. I vote for that.
Okay, we're in. So
you can put me on the board.
We're gonna be on the board. I feel like you would have some pull. Like you would know Joe.
Well, I have been to his place a lot.
Okay. You're dressed appropriately.
Yeah.
You could probably get a part-time job there if you so desired.
I have a very, very relaxed attitude, as you can tell.
It is when you go in there, though. My wife and I went to Oceanside for a little retreat, and we went to a Trader Joe's. I'm like, man, there's lots of cool stuff in here, and the people are awesome.
They are. It's a good team.
They're amazing folks.
They could easily live in South Dakota. They would like it.
I think we need to expand the brand a little bit. So.
Okay, yeah.
So community development, you're very involved in the chamber.
Yes. I so enjoy the chamber.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy people. I enjoy meeting people. In the chamber, you have a chance to have lunch together. I'm big on lunch.
Yeah.
And you just get to meet people and enjoy them and work together. And everybody's, obviously, you're not there to make big bucks because no one's making anything that I know of. And you're just serving your community where you can and helping out with issues. And I find it very fascinating, very fun. I went to, when I first came here, a guy about my age, the founding pastor of our church, he had a real successful run at our church. And I asked him, so what are some of the things you did? And he said, well, I became part of the chamber, and it was really fun. And so a month or two later, I had to call him back, and I said, man, you were right. It is really fun. So if you've never been part of the chamber at Brandon and you'd like to be, and you're from Brandon, I would suggest joining it. Or your local chamber, wherever you are.
Yeah, well.
Those people in Seattle who are sneaking into this podcast.
Well, we care about our chamber. But I think that's something, so I'm going to we're going to kind of put you on this Trader Joe business thing.
I can't talk to the chamber about it. Absolutely. See.
Talk to the chamber and say, let's get Trader Joe's in Brandon. So
yeah, that'd be good.
So we want to increase, can you imagine?
If we had a Trader Joe's here.
Can you imagine the economic impact of a Trader Joe's?
Have you tried the ketchup from Trader Joe's compared to the ketchup? Well, you try it. See what you think.
Well, the next time I'm in Seattle, I'll stop in and get some Trader Joe ketchup.
My wife brings it home from there.
I'm holding out. I'm holding out till we have one in Brandon, and then I will try it.
Whoever thought this conversation would be dominated by Trader Joe's?
Oh, it's part of my plan.
Part of your master plan. Yeah.
So, well, what would you say, and Richard, I appreciate you being here and just the last few years getting to know you, it's really been a treat. And so I really want to thank you for being a part. And what would you, what have you come to your perspective? What would you say, and to someone that's new to Brandon, like, cause you're new to Brandon, as was I a few years ago. What would be some advice or some wisdom you would share with somebody who's new to town, and like you got involved in the chamber? How would you encourage people to get involved here as they move in?
Well, I like the folks at City Hall are really helpful too, visiting with them, and I found that to be really inviting. I've been to a couple forums and stuff at City Hall. I enjoy that. And I notice the neighborhood. I walk a lot in the neighborhood. We live right next to the state park there in Brandon, and so I notice we have a lot of dogs, I noticed. Everybody has dogs. They all want to walk the dogs.
Yeah.
And they walk by my house. And then the school happens there at the south end of where I live, and kids walk from all over the place. It's really quite inactive. So you just have to step out your front door almost and just say hello to people. And I find them very friendly. You have the school activities from sports to bands to drama. Really enjoy the drama going on there too. So it's not hard to get involved. You just have to go out your front door.
Go to your front door and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, is there anything? I mean, you were a big part this year, as you have been over the last few years, of the Brandon area prayer breakfast.
Oh yeah, isn't that a treat?
Yeah, I mean, would you kind of talk about what that is and what that means to the community for those people that maybe don't know what the prayer breakfast is?
The prayer breakfast is a time for us as a community to come together at the start of the school year and really do our best to bless and prepare our kids to go in school. A lot of kids attend it. And the community comes together, and many, many sponsors, people help to pay for those kids to have a free breakfast. And we usually have a gifted speaker to come and share. I really enjoyed this last year that I hadn't heard Tom's talk, but it was just captivating. And I watched the kids. I happened to be sitting on the platform. I watched the kids listen and take in, and you can tell it was just words of wisdom. It wasn't real long. It wasn't a truckload of things.
Right.
It was just the importance of our Father in heaven and connecting with him at the start of the year. It's just a valuable time, and it's a great rally point for our city. Yeah. It's a real compliment to the city and the people that put that together. The ones running it, I think, do an excellent job. I don't know how the MC did this year. He kind of bumbled along, but most people there.
Well, you were. I mean, when you have big names like Nick Omlid,
yes,
and Jeff Thuy, that
I had to feel their shoes.
I mean, those are big shoes.
They have big shoes, big shoes. They're at least
big.
I should go like this. Yeah, it was. And Nick was. He was real helpful. Actually, he coached me and helped me control my mind and how I did things. He was very helpful.
Yeah, that team, that committee that helps lead that, along with yourself and other pastors in the community. That team of Nick and Bob Young, of course, and his just his vision for that. It started as this very small group, and to see Bob continue to be a part of that, and Paul Vandenberg.
Yeah,
I mean,
Paul really is the center of that organization that makes it hum along. I appreciate too how the pastors in the pastors group at Brandon. What do we call ourselves? The Brandon area ministerium.
The ministerial association. Yeah,
good group. The community with those guys just to help each other. I have never felt anyone pushing back. It's always been, how can I help you? How can we do something together here? And
we're very blessed to have a community that embraces that concept of faith, and then pastors that we work in. For the most part, we get along.
Well, and I get to have lunch with you once a month, whether I want to or not. It's just really good.
Yeah. Well, I like how you always get extra like fries, and you let me share. So
I notice you go for the ketchup. I think you're on a quest.
Oh, I can't wait. Well, we'll be making upcoming announcements about Trader Joe's coming to Brandon. But in the meantime, I want to encourage you to go to brandonwellness.com. Brandon Wellness, you can contribute there, and the Brandon Chamber, and you can go to the Brandon Chamber and find out about businesses, local businesses. That's what this podcast is about. Love your neighbor. Lynx, LYNX, love your neighbor, and how we really can love our neighbors by shopping local, going out for walks.
Yeah.
Being
Step
around.
outside your door and you'll find people are there willing to have a discussion and probably invite you over for a barbecue or something. That's what I found since I've come.
Well, I need to come over to your house.
We
need to have
barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what kind of ketchup we'll use.
That's awesome. Well, hey, thanks for being here, and encourage you to share and like this podcast and this conversation with Richard. Thanks, Richard, for being with us today. Appreciate you, man.
We'll have to do this again. We have a lot more to talk about.
Oh, we just got the scratches. We got the surface scratched.
We did.
Awesome.
Okay. Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on the Love Your Neighbor podcast. The purpose of the Love Your Neighbor podcast is to build community one conversation at a time. You can help us build that community by sharing the podcast on your social media channels and rating our podcast on whatever platform you're listening from. Another way is to let us know of any neighbors who have a story. Go Lynx!